Revelation's an interesting book. It's difficult, but it's not difficult why most people think it's difficult. Most people think there's some weird code or special thing you have to understand to read Revelation, and there's really not. You just have to know the Bible. And we'll talk about that as in this first handout of, the first handout really is telling us all the background stuff to understand of how do we interpret, how do we understand the book of Revelation, because unlike, say, the stories of Jesus, the Gospels, etc., we don't have anything in our current contemporary genres that is like the book of Revelation. And so because of that, because it's strange, unique to us, it feels odd and it feels difficult to interpret, but actually it's one of the easiest books to interpret in the Bible. You have to recognize, at least for the Catholic Church, Revelation has never been this great mystery. You know, it's clearly known. In fact, when you read Catholic authors, as I was going back through some of my old notes and rewriting my handouts, Catholic author after Catholic author, and Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox as well, they say there's nothing secret about the book of Revelation. That's why it's called Revelation. Revelation means it tells you what's going to happen. It's not a secret. It's actually information. The issue is we have to understand how to sort of access and understand that information. If you look at the handout, sometimes you'll hear it referred to as the Apocalypse. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as Revelation more modernly. They're both the same word. One is Greek, one is Latin. Apocalypsis in Greek, Revelatio in Latin. They both mean the same thing, to unveil. So to take the veil away. The image is actually, that's where our term revelation comes from. The image is actually a very intimate one. It's a sexual term. Because in the culture of that time period, and earlier in Israel, the Old Testament, it referred to the wedding night, which was the first time that the brides, who of course in that culture were veiled, would unveil herself to her husband, right? So it's this intimate term, and it's the one that God chose to use throughout the history of Israel and the church to explain when he's sort of offering himself, giving of himself to his bride, to his people. So the term itself is actually very intimate. Revelation in the modern times is probably one of the best known books, but probably one of the least read and definitely the most least understood. Especially because there's so many weird things out there that are way off the mark as far as what Revelation really means, that it confuses the issue and makes it even more difficult. So what we're going to do in this series is twofold. We're going to see what Revelation really meant, and understanding what it really meant to the first people who read it and heard it. Then we can apply it, specifically the 7 churches and what they're undergoing, to our time. To see, because the same issues affect us, the same struggles, the same difficulties. And so, on the one hand, the Apocalypse, Revelation, is very time-bound. It talks about a very specific time period in Christian history. On the other hand, it's very sort of open-ended because it's written in a way, just like all the scriptures, that continue to apply the principles and the understandings of what's happening.